Okay, so there's this fella. Hold on. There's this fella known as President Sunday. And this is not President Sunday's main channel. I've once again been relegated to the second channel, which is rude as shit. But it is what it is. He did feel that it was important enough to cover me, though. As you can see here, the fourth to last video he uploaded. Or would it be third to last? I don't know. Fourth, right? Anyway, Vosh clone uses AI to copy Vosh. So first of all, right off the rip, I don't really consider myself a Vosh clone. Everybody calls me one. I don't really know why. I personally think Vosh is like smarter than me when it comes to politics. I just like do my little dumb song and dance and, you know, try to give my input where it's necessary. I'm open to being wrong, which I'm not saying Vosh isn't, but I do think Vosh has a little bit more authority in this field than I do. Just for starters. For another thing, he has way better hair than I do, which is none. I guess he's better at foreign politics, he's better at history, he's better at a lot of stuff than I am. I wish that he would do more debates again, but that's just me. I mean, I just think that would be entertaining. So, but as far as using AI, I'm not going to say I'm insulted, I am just confused. And I meant to have this pulled up already, so Dubsy, you can skip ahead, but I do need a minute to pull this up. Here we go, this is the one. His reasoning is bullshit. And so I'm going to be watching this. I'll watch it fully. Here, look. Like 30 seconds, by the way. I'm betting that's like the majority of this video, I'm watching it. Most of it is just fluff. You're giving me a second example of what you mean.
Categorizations becomes unclear when you're constantly having to work around the fact that two things you've categorized together are not actually alike. The problem with trans-identity,
what's the social use of it?
It draws a massive distinction between
definition. Okay, so like I'm literally sitting here scripting it out with chat present, right? The word is just an adjective that we place. Adjective describing a type of person, i.e., someone who identifies as a gender different from that they were assigned at birth. So I'm sitting here typing it out, right? And like I'm switching things around, whatever. And even during of wisdom, Milo, when I was actually talking about it, you can compare. Like I wasn't just reading off the script. I ad-libbed a little bit. But like this is my script. I made this. Everybody saw me make this, so it's like, what are you talking about, AI? That's first of all, and second of all, you know my opinion on AI, but I knew that my opinion on AI was not going to be enough to satisfy him, as it shouldn't be. You know, just because I say I hate AI doesn't mean I don't use it, right? But I don't use it, and you can see that I was not using it. So let's see if he has any other gripes going on, any like legitimate ones, and we'll just respond as kindly as we can. Oh yeah, sorry, there's one other thing that I wanted to show you real quick. Dubs, you'll have to skip ahead again. So I went into his chat last night because I saw that he was live, and I was like, let's just see what's up. Let's see what he does, right? Kind of like tapping the glass.
And just get my shit together.
So he's going over this guy. You can see in the chat, like, there's a lot of fat shaming going on. I don't know the guy at all. Oh, Shamu. Oh, that's actually his name, Shamu. See, I thought they were calling him Shamu to fat shame. Okay, that's my bad then.
You know, it's in general, you know, everybody has their moments of anger, but like I really should be better than this. Apparently I'm not, you know, because it's just fucking pathetic. So I'm already I'm not happy about that in general.
But as you can see, I typed, wait, where's my, here it is. I said, hey, I said, hey man, just wondering if you wanted to chat sometime. Saw you posted about me, Lamau.
You know, because it's just fucking pathetic. So I'm already happy to be somebody that's a little more for being intelligent. I don't know.
Oh, hey, Alec. Yeah, I did post about you. I posted mean things about you. I'm happy
Oh, no, not mean things.
to have you on. You can come chat anytime you want.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
This kind of communicates that.
He looks a little flustered.
You know, but the crashing out in general is just not how I want to communicate myself. I'd like to think that I have a little bit more to offer than just unintelligent screaming and rambling. He's like a moron. So I guess we'll see with the rest of this year how that goes.
Hey, look, Alec. You're looking better than this guy, okay? You got that going for you.
But I do think that I have a little more to offer
in my books, at least.
In general, this is not the way that I want to, you know.
So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing to say. I'm not saying that I take offense to it necessarily, but like, why? Like, I don't care. how you think I look. You know, it's like it's fine. You know, you can have your opinions or whatever, but you know, it doesn't make any difference to me. So I thought that was interesting as all. So anyway, that was enough. That's enough context. That's enough blabbering. Let's get to the video.
I can't tell if you're gay or not.
I don't know if I'll watch the whole thing.
Even though you have a wife. Many such cases. Tragic. So this is King Critical wanted a serious response. Here's 10 featuring actual Jake, Lucy Haze, and Dead to Me. You didn't invite me.
Lucy Haze.
I made a really good video on King Critical. Whatever. I won't take it personally. Actual Jake is there. I understand he'd be.
I do use AI for search stuff. I don't think it's a good tool to use. I think if you can avoid AI, you should.
Be triggered by my presence because he embarrassed himself mightily in our debate. And I didn't even do that good, to be honest with you. But I digress.
Oh, quick off the mark, I genuinely respect that. I almost hope the video does well and is well received just because it's so rare to see people engage with my top tier videos. That even attempting it deserves some kudos. Edit, I just watched it.
I'm gonna skip ahead just to what he says about me. I think.
Reason 2. Trans identity isn't valid because it leads to an unclear system of categorizations. As already said, in the case of technical scientific terms, sometimes new meanings for words can be—
Oh no, is this all about this one bit? Is this whole video about this one section?
What? No.
Why'd you get Alec Gunter for this?
Why not?
Really? Okay. I'm a little bit morbidly curious. You're gonna get Alec Gunter on for philosophy of language. Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
I'm an expert in philosophy of language.
God help me.
I have a degree.
Critical, I will.
Not in philosophy of language. I just
critical. I will be pleasantly surprised.
I have a degree, so everything I say is right.
Take, for example, Pluto being reclassified as no longer a planet, or birds being reclassified as dinosaurs. The reason for this is that if we pretend that things are more or less alike than they actually are, we'll keep
he looks
having
confused.
to use increasingly more complicated language to account for
Which,
all
like,
the
same.
exceptions of how these things are being miscategorized.
So we do that. I'm sorry, what is the problem? We do that. That's how taxonomy works.
He's right.
What's a worm? What do you think the definition of a worm is, King Critical?
This then makes describing the world increasingly complicated as it becomes fraught with these exceptions that make these categorizations functionally useless. As Pluto's size was realized to be much smaller than we initially—
No, worms are not annelids are a kind of worm. Annelids are not worms. There are lots of worms that aren't annelids. There are worms that aren't related to each other. Worm is literally a body shape. It's a body shape. There are so many things that have evolved into worm shape.
Worm is a lot of things. It's not just a body shape.
Categorize it like the
okay, does that mean snakes are worms? I'm just curious.
Astrological bodies it's in fact similar to, rather
I think
than
he's wrong on
the
that.
planets, the smallest of which is still much bigger than it. Similarly, but conversely, when we realized how many dinosaurs had feathers and broadly bird-like anatomy, we realized it doesn't make sense to categorize birds as anything other than dinosaurs. A system of categorizations becomes unclear when you're constantly having to work around the fact that two things you've categorized together are not actually alike. The problem with trans identity is that it groups together under the incredibly analytically and sociologically useful label of woman two groups that—
Wait, hang on, what? Sorry, say again?
Under the incredibly actually alike. The problem with trans identity is that it groups together under the incredibly analytically and sociologically useful label of woman.
How's it analytically useful? Under what terms? You need to actually give us a specific definition and tell us how it's useful. Analytically useful. Any definition is analytically useful. All it means for it, having a definition makes it analytically useful by definition. What?
Two groups that are not
Wait,
alike.
having a definition makes it analytically useful?
Makes it analytic. Definition is analytic.
If not worm, why worm shaped?
Thank you very much for another 2 tier 1 gifted sub sockets, Tanuki. I appreciate you.
Useful.
And I agree.
All it means for it, having a definition makes it analytically useful by definition. What?
You can analyze the definition. I'm trying to be charitable. I just don't know what he means by, like, the fact that you have a definition makes the definition analytically useful. I don't think that that's true either.
Groups that are not at all alike, biological males and biological females.
What does biological mean, King Critical?
Good question.
What is that identifying in the world? What is the difference between the biological and the non-biological? What do you think you're saying there when you add biological to this? What is the matter that has the substance of life? What does that mean?
And then it draws a massive distinction between so-called
That's a fair question. It's a good one.
cis-identifying non-conforming males and trans-identifying males, even though those two groups are functionally identical.
What does that mean they're functionally identical? Where is the function? They're using different words.
Yeah. Actually, I should have addressed that as well. I was trying to keep it very short, but that is good that he addressed that.
Functionally identical. If they distinguish at all, even just semantically, if they just distinguish in terms of how they identify verbally, that's a functional difference. They are functioning as separate groups. They're taking efforts to separate themselves out.
I don't understand what his issue with my thing is going to be. It seems like he'll largely agree with it. That's what I'm getting, is like he's pro-trans and he's going to largely agree with what I said.
Where's the function? How many functions are you
You
ignoring
look vaguely
to get
familiar.
Well, this is the actual function. That's not how functions work.
You may not be able to tell the difference at all between whether you're talking to a cis cross-dressing man and a so-called trans woman.
You may not be able to tell if you're talking to someone who is pregnant or not. What is the point here? But since when is the viability of terminal?
I want it to be known that at the start of this, he was mad Cirrus took so long to start the actual video to the point where it came across as if he didn't even want to watch the video. Thank you for 10 biddies. That is very funny. I think that if I had to critique my fellow leftists who were part of that video and did a wonderful job, I do think that they were a little bit lengthy when it came to their explanations. I kept mine pretty short. I kept mine 4 minutes or less. I think Riverboats went on for like 20, which is fine. You're allowed to do that. But at the same time, I think that it behooves us to have concise points. Just like explain the thought process, because Riverboat Jack had like 5 examples, which is great, but you didn't need all those. I think just one would have worked, but that's just me.
Technology or categorization based upon whether or not some third party can recognize what category somebody is at a glance. That is so dumb. That's so dumb.
But I wouldn't say that about Cirrus.
I can't tell if you're gay or not, even though you have a wife. Many such cases. Tragic.
And yet,
it seems like he just agrees with me. I don't understand what the disconnect's going to be.
in trans identity, this is equivalent to the broader distinction.
Like, we
between
agree.
men
What's the
and
problem?
women. By accepting a definition.
What? No, it's not. What? Hang on. Slow down, cowboy. What?
Is equivalent to the broader distinction between men and women.
No, the distinction between men and women is that they are gendered man and woman according to contingent terms by some given society. That's all.
And self-ID, but I get it.
At the root of this is a denial not of the existence of genders, but
you wouldn't have the self-ID without the societal assignment of it. So he's right.
The essentiality of gender prior to culture. That's the move. The move is gendering is a thing that human beings do with their brains in society. That's a thing that we do. It doesn't just include like sex categories. It also includes things like cups and chairs and
true.
Up and down.
Boats
and so
are
on
a good
and so
one.
Forth. It is essentially just the creation of
America. A lot of people refer to America as she, her. God, he, him, even though like people say that God's genderless and sexless.
Of genres, of categories. That is what we do.
Even capital H, he, him, by the way.
However, certain ones are really important to us in particularly historically sensitive ways. That's how
we got 3 inches of snow last night. We haven't gotten the spring update yet. Yeah, there was a bunch of snow in Ohio in the middle of March.
Get this intensity around gender categories around sex. That's how it works. You had to read 30 pages of Butler to get it right. 30 pages.
I am kind of glad that I took the time to watch this previous segment before I come on the screen because it's softening me up to him a bit. I think we agree. Like, I don't understand the problem. Does President Sunday have an actual issue with me? Because he was like, oh, this guy. Like, I remember we've only ever had one discussion. It was shortly after my Jubilee segment, and I think that he was like distasteful of it just because like I came off very strongly. You'll see. Okay.
It's the first chapter. They are explicit. This is not hard.
By accepting a definition that has nothing to do with biological or even sociological reality.
What does that mean? Biological reality is a sociological reality. Where do you think the distinction between the biological and the non-biological comes from?
You have accepted a definition that is completely meaningless. As such, any
but analytically useful.
Attempt to use this word under this definition will be so fraught with exceptions, it will be unclear.
But that's their point. That's the point. Is the exceptions disprove the essentiality of these terms.
Yeah.
But also the history disproves the essentiality of these terms because they're historically emergent and contingent, right? That's the point. That is the entire argument.
I mean, he is
That's
cooking.
the basis for saying that gender identities are not an essential relationship to a particular like sex condition. In fact, sexual designations are themselves acts of gendering, which tells you something about how they're using the word gender.
Yeah.
They aren't talking about gender as if it is a surrogate for sex.
And as
Butler ain't easy for normal people. You can have it explained to you. I have explained it for him. You can. It's very simple to understand. Butler is writing for academics. It has been explained in more simple terms elsewhere. How about the question of where the bedrock is? Is there a definition at bottom, or is this just regressive forever? That's an excellent point, Brooks, because once again, if you're going to say that there is an essential meaning to terms, is there an essential structure to the human tongue and to the capacity for language? Every single bit of us, down to the molecule, evolved contingently and could have evolved otherwise or not evolved. It's all contingent. The very way in which we identify objects in the world and can cognize them is contingent. There is.
Don't forget to be transformative. I don't think President Sunday will. I mean, I know you're telling me like react harder, basically, but I don't. I have faith that President Sunday will not copyright strike this.
There's no bedrock. Like, are you a Thomist? Like, are we operating in the realm of Aristotle here? You know, 2,500 years of science and philosophy.
I would interject, but he's making good points and he sounds smart.
Has happened since then, right?
such useless.
He's making
as
good
a
points,
word.
and I agree with him.
How do we define who's male and who's female?
Alec,
What's up?
you're on thin ice, buddy. Don't
Why? What did I do?
mess this up.
Is it by
Okay.
body parts, chromosomes, hormone levels? Once you start to really look into how we distinguish these categories,
Oh my God, he used ChatGPT.
Wait, what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? You didn't even give me 5 seconds, brother. What do you mean I use ChatGPT? I literally have video evidence of me not using ChatGPT. He's just astounded that I'm capable of like writing a good script. That's all it is. Like, it was a complete pivot from I completely agree with everything that he's saying to I think that he's going to agree with me as well, but he's just going to say that I use ChatGPT and then like stoke some kind of fake drama.
Oh my God, he used ChatGPT for this.
How could you possibly know that?
He 100% used ChatGPT for this. That is the most ChatGPT opening Alec could have given.
How?
it becomes a lot messier at first glance. Like, societally speaking, we distinguish males from females by the genitalia we observe at birth. And from that...
Why is he cringing? What am I... Like, he just, like, has this weird look on his face while he's watching me. Why? What's wrong with what I'm saying? Sunday still sniffing his own farts, eh? Sunday just jelly because you can do more push-ups than him? I mean, that has nothing to do with anything, but it is probably true. I won't say for sure. I have gained a bit of weight, but, you know, I can still do probably at least 30.
we derive whether you're a man or a woman in adulthood. And frankly, like, I just don't think that that's that useful in most contexts. Like,
And it's still terrible.
we look at other people and
Wait, how can you say that I use ChatGPT and it's still terrible? What's terrible about it?
call them a man or a woman based entirely upon what we think is in their pants. Not only is that not that useful, I just find it kind of creepy. I don't know. Maybe
Yes.
King Critical
What's wrong
doesn't
with
know.
that?
I don't know.
Wait, he's not actually giving any substantive critique. Nothing here is actually like constructive. You're not trying to like realistically critique what I'm saying or give me pointers or anything like that. Like, we agree, man. What's the problem? I'm glad that he agreed to talk because like I kind of want to hash things out with him. I feel like we could have a decent just like coexisting relationship, you know? But like I don't understand where this what's the word for it? He seems very loathsome of me. He'll make one point later, but it's more an argument against Vosh than you. 1 point and it's against Vosh? Okay, we'll see.
In his words, A system of categorization becomes unclear when you constantly have to work around the fact that two things you've categorized together are not actually
I can't get
alike.
over his face.
So I'd like to ask, is an infertile woman still female? How about one born with vaginoagenesis or Swyer syndrome? If so, then what makes these people women in King Critical's worldview? I guess we can't say since he never actually defines his terms in this video. Trans is just an...
He doesn't talk this way. This is not how he talks. This is not how he writes. This
It's a script. Wait, what do you mean that's not how I write? You have no idea how I write. Go look. I write very eloquently when I want to. I just look and sound like a meathead most of the time because talking like this is formal and, you know, it can be a little robotic sometimes. It's a little robotic, I'll give him that. I'm not used to reading off a script. Everything I do is, you know, I free mouth it. I ad-lib.
He's not wrong. No, he's not wrong, but he's also like not making a good
You just said I'm not wrong. Dude, what's the problem?
argument. Like he's kind of missing the point.
Okay, what do you mean?
Like, I don't know how that's useful. It's like that's not the retort. It's weak.
Wait, yes, it is. He's literally talking in this point about how we're making words useless. And so I'm trying to turn it back around on him and say, no, the way that he's doing it is useless. Like, what are you talking about? We have to define people by, like, the genitalia that's in their pants that we can't even see. Like, unless we force them to show us. Like, I think that's a perfectly valid response to what he's saying. I scripted all this out. I had help from chat, and I trust you guys with my life.
It's a really weak retort.
I disagree.
Like, this also
I thought, by the way, just for the record, I did think that President Sunday's retorts were decent for the most part. I think that he got worm describes a shape wrong. I know what you're getting at, but I don't think that's true either because we have snakes and they're not worms. We have eels and we don't call them worms. Like, just because something is shaped like a worm doesn't make it a worm. It is arbitrary. I'll hand you that. But I don't think that it necessarily describes a shape. I think that the word worm is, you know, in a way, in a manner of speaking, a little bit wiggly in that sense, you know?
the way should have been the only topic of this video because everything else falls apart on this point. And I feel like they gave it to the weakest person.
Another adjective.
I just disagree.
Okay? It's an adjective describing a type of person, i.e. someone who identifies as a gender different from that which they were assigned at birth. It's pretty simple. The categorization really isn't complex. There's cis women, trans women, cis men, trans men, and non-binary people.
This is, I'm sorry, I know people think I'm paranoid. I 100% think that this is ChatGPT. This does not sound like Alec. I've seen Alex writing an argument before. He doesn't talk like this.
My man's like literally never heard the difference between somebody just naturally speaking and somebody reading off of a script.
And sometimes with non-binary identities, you can branch off into some other categorizations, but it's a nice, orderly construct, a social construct, if you will, that we formed here.
What?
There are variations within this group, and there
He's like, what's that face for? What are you talking? Like, you're trying to tell me something, and I don't know what you're trying to tell me. It just looks like you're shitting yourself. You gotta make boom boom. Like, what's the problem? I'm frustrated now.
Okay.
There are in any group, but there is one thing they all have in common.
No real critique.
Right? Within
Nothing.
each group, and that is self-identifying with.
No. Oh my God. No.
What?
No. 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 Self-identification. Self-identification is a basis for identifying people as trans or as gay or whatever. That is about social mores and politeness. That is about public decency.
Well, not necessarily. No, they are just no. It's not about public decency. That's about trans women are women. They literally are. Non-binary people are literally non-binary. You know, they don't identify with man or woman. Being polite because you a guest. It's Cirrus's vid after all. Sunday's cursed to be a hater over minor disagreements. I just don't get like this weird posturing he's put. Like, I'm not doing that for him. What's the like? Just be like just be a constructive critic. If he were constructively critiquing me, I would not be this upset. But so far, all he's done is scrunch up his face like he's constipated and say that I'm not very good at this. That's not constructive at all.
Apply a gender term to a person on the basis of self-identification. Why? Because they know better than you. They have first-person authority there, but that's not the basis for it. Someone could have mistaken notions of what these terms mean and self-identify incorrectly. For example, as in the case of someone who isn't aware of trans people as a thing, but still suffers from gender dysphoria, and would if they had the language identify.
Okay, if you don't know, so you don't know what being trans even is, but you still suffer from gender dysphoria. So you look at yourself in the mirror, identify yourself as the gender you don't want to be, and then you see people of the other gender and want to be more like them. Okay, that makes sense so far.
Identify as trans, right?
Okay, if they have the
Identify
language.
as a man if they were identified as a woman at birth, or a woman if they were identified as a man at birth by a doctor.
Or
Right?
non-binary.
That person doesn't have the language to correctly self-identify. You would still not say, oh, actually, on the basis of the profile you saw.
Yeah, but once you give them that language, then we base it upon their self-identification. Like if you walk into a doctor's office and they ask what is your gender identification, the way that they assign you is what your answer is, right? A cis man, a cis woman, a trans woman, non-binary, other, etc., whatever. So yes, it is quite literally, like, how do people know that I'm, like, that I identify as a man? Well, obviously, you know, you look at me and then you assume. But, you know, I could also be non-binary. You don't know unless you ask, unless, like, I say, right? Like, it's literally a matter of self-identification. He makes a good point about closeted people here. I understand. But once you give closeted people that language, then we base it upon their self-identification. You need to tell that closeted person, yes, this is how we identify people who don't want to be assigned the gender that they were assigned at birth. I should have been assigned NB at birth. Hot take, I think that assigning people NB at birth is like the correct thing to do. Like, not yet. Like, obviously, like, we haven't reached that point in society, but eventually I'd like to see, like, you know, it's not based upon your genitalia. It's just like everybody gets the label non-binary. Like this would be like the step before complete, like, gender abolition would be like everybody gets the label of non-binary and then they get to choose whether they're a boy or a girl or something else. He's gonna watch me have this take and go like, that's bad, but I won't say how because I'm President Sunday.
Painted for me, I'm going to actually classify you as the opposite thing, because that'd be really freaking weird and disrespectful. Stop. Like, I hate
What do you mean,
that Vosh
stop?
has now become the standard for how people argue about this. Vosh hasn't read 30 pages of Butler. Vosh does not understand how any of this
Oh no,
works.
theory. I haven't read
this
theory.
Is the Vosh argument. Oh, well, I just...
You know how I know this stuff? Because I live in society and I've analyzed it for myself, okay? And most people seem to, like, I don't want to say most, but it seems to work, right? So if you think that I'm wrong, we can have a discussion about it, okay? But you're not actually teaching me anything. All you're doing is saying, well, I read all these books and I read all this theory and this and that and the other and blah, 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 blah. The problem is you think that I am less educated than you, and therefore you're the authority and everything that I say is wrong, and you just seem weirdly upset at me for some reason that I haven't put my finger on yet.
I just think it's all arbitrary, so self-identification is...
I recognize that you've put a lot of work into understanding this shit, but the way that you're using it right now is not constructive. Assigning a gender at birth is hella grooming, hot take. That's sort of... I think that there is a meaningful distinction. It is just a social construct that we have kind of forced upon people. I don't know. Like, you're not wrong, but also I think that there's a meaningful distinction between, like, when we use the word grooming a child versus, like, assigning them a gender. Is it a form of grooming? You can absolutely make that argument, but, you know, you just got to be careful.
No, the point is not that it's all arbitrary. None of it is arbitrary. That's why it matters. If it was arbitrary, people could just go back in the closet without a problem, right?
Wait, it absolutely is arbitrary. Like, when we gender clothing, that is absolutely arbitrary. You would agree with me on this. Like, we could literally switch the genders tomorrow, you know? We could just switch them. Like, if you're born with a vagina, now you're a man. If you were born with a penis, now you're a woman. And then you could start doing all the things that women typically do. Like, if you're a man, and then if you were a man, and then if you were a woman and you're now a man, you can do all the things that men would typically do. Wear suits, work construction jobs, as opposed to, like, more, like, child care jobs, which the men would be doing. You know, all these things that we've kind of assigned to genders, to gender categories. We just switch them. You could just do that. Yes, it is arbitrary.
There wouldn't be any stakes. There are stakes because it's not arbitrary. Yes, gendered categories are
there are stakes because people are getting hurt over this shit.
Produced by contingent historical systems, but so are we. We are produced historically. We can actually be constituted where it actually really affects us if we're categorized.
He also did a response to Actual Jake segment. He hates Jake so much. It is kind of funny. I think it's because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake absolutely splattered him in a debate. I could be wrong about that. It's been a long time since I've watched the debate, but like, Jake is really hard to win a debate against. He's just so nonchalant and also pretty smart, and nothing really phases him that much.
Publicly in the wrong way. It can actually ruin our lives. That's the point. People who don't read stuff don't know this. They think it's a matter of they think it's a matter of like bathroom use. Like, no.
That's a big part of it.
No, not at all. If there was a firm separation between genital sets and bathroom use, okay, such that actual like categories, if we as a culture were like insensitive to this, like we just didn't care, right? There was no like gendered aspect to this. We were neutral about it, and we just had different receptacles for different people based on these things, but otherwise we didn't care if somebody went into the men's washroom with a dress or with jeans on. There would be no stakes about this, and there are lots of places that are like this too.
There would be no stakes about this. I think what... Hold on.
If somebody went into the men's washroom with a dress or with jeans on, there would be no stakes about this, and there are
well, nobody would know the difference anyway, right? Nobody would question it. Like right now, there are literally people, like most people, I would even say, I would venture a guess that most people think that the separation between bathrooms is based upon whether you have a penis or a vagina. Like that's literally as far as it goes for the average dipshit, is they think that like that's how the separation works in their minds right now. And if you think that I'm wrong, I mean, we can check with people, right? But like, yeah, that's kind of how people think that it works. If you have a penis, you go in the men's bathroom. If you have a vagina, you go in the women's bathroom. So this is... So my problem is not necessarily, at least at this point in time, that we have those two separate bathrooms. It's the fact that people want to like check. That's why people want to do genital inspections, right? Because that's how they think it works. If you have a vagina, you're in the women's bathroom. Trans is hella a lot more than what bathroom you go in. I understand that, and he understands that. He thinks that I just think it's about what bathroom you go in. And it's a lot more than that. It's about your entire identity and existence. My ground floor for this, right? The bottom line is you ought to be allowed to call yourself what you want, as long as it's not like, you know, some label that we have some other use for, like a doctor, right? But as far as gender goes, you can call yourself what you want. As far as your name goes, you can call yourself what you want. And as far as your attire goes, you can dress however you want, put on whatever makeup you want, and present how you want to the public. Anything about your identity should be up to you, okay? And I think that President Sunday would agree with me. He just gets all high and mighty about like, well, I read more than you, so actually you're wrong. When at the end of the day, we agree on everything. We agree, dude. Like, what's your problem? We literally agree.
Lots of places that are like this too. For example, when you go to the hospital and you go to the doctors, like it's actually, they can respect your pronouns. It's actually important for them to know specifically what organs you have, because they
have to respect your pronouns.
And different people on the basis of certain genetic properties have different sets of things.
Yes, so they can see your medical history, right? They can see, oh, this person had a vaginoplasty.
When are we getting girth certificate checkers outside men's rooms in the GOP office hallways with measuring tape and licenses to laugh?
Thank you very much for another 5 tier 1 gifted sub, Sake. Girth certificate is very funny. Good job.
Now, there's a wider variety than Gender Essentials would have you believe as to what those things can be, but like, that would be a case. The point has nothing to... It's just like... I hate how this entire debate online has been reduced, and everybody else, I know, I'm pretty certain everybody else in this group of collaborators knows better than this, so I'm frustrated that nobody pointed this out. It is not a matter of self-identification. Self-identification has to...
Is he... Oh, hold on. Is he jealous that he wasn't part of this? That he wasn't reached out to be a part of this? I think he's just jealous. He's giving a lot of jealousy right now. He wanted to be a part of this. I'm sorry, man. I'll let Cirrus know, and next time that we put together a project like this, we'll consider you. But you have to behave yourself, because you can't be a part of the stuff that we're doing if you're going to act like this.
To do with public attitudes to trans identities. It has nothing to do whatsoever.
It's like Sunday tries to be this elitist academic who shits on all who argue in favor of any position but comes across as really insecure emo.
Thank you very much for another 100 biddies, James with a Z. Appreciate you. I largely agree with that. He is jealous. He's been jealous for a while. Yeah, he just like, he does come off as insecure. And as somebody who has struggled with insecurity myself and does so to a much lesser extent these days, I would challenge President Sunday to put that good brain to use in ways that do not feed that insecurity. Don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get it twisted. I think President Sunday is smart. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think that he has a lot of good things to say. But I think he's an insecure little bitch boy. and you need to shape up a little bit and, you know, not do this. I don't think that you're substantively critiquing me. I think that you just don't like me for some reason, and therefore you decided to pick on me a little bit, and that's all, that's as far as this goes.
With the validity of trans identities. Because self-identification can be wrong, as is the case with every single person who is still in the...
Okay, if I tell you that I am happy right now, there are obviously other things, like there are signs that you can read to, you know, interpret maybe he's not actually happy, maybe he's lying, right? But like in a doctor's office, we have what's called a subjective assessment, okay? If somebody says they're doing fine, we write down in the notes, says he's doing fine. If somebody says, I feel like my depression is at a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, we write down in the notes, client says depression is 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. That's called a subjective assessment, and we take that very seriously. So I don't understand what you mean when you say that somebody's self-identification can be wrong. Is he talking about the closeted thing again? Okay, if you're closeted, right, and you go out in public and you say, I am a man, when you're actually a woman, right? Yes, you are giving the wrong identification, but everybody around you is then going to call you a man. And some people need to do that for safety reasons, right? Like I've known people in my own life who I've had to be careful around and misgender them around their family, you know, which sucks, but that's just the reality. If somebody says, look, yes, I'm a trans woman, but I need you to call me a man around my mom and dad and refer to me as like a guy, then I'm going to do that. You know, like self-identification, the only way, by the way, that we can know that that person is lying about their identification is because they tell other people about it. That's the only way we can possibly know. So it has to be based on self-ID. It has to.
Closet. They are not identifying accurately, either out of ignorance or out of fear.
With that group. What do I have in common with all men? It's that we all identify as men.
No, you don't. You don't all identify as men. Some men don't identify as men. There are trans men who are in the closet because they will lose their families if they...
This is just nitpicking behavior. I'm sorry. This is just nitpicking behavior.
...come out. Not all men identify as... That's silly.
What does a trans woman have in common with... Oh, but you didn't think about the closeted people. But that's not what this was about. You want to talk about irrelevant? Nobody would have to be closeted if not for people like King Critical. That's the whole point. All women.
Like, what if
When have you heard of a closeted cis person? What does a closeted cis person look like, President Sunday? They don't have to closet themselves? Isn't that interesting? So you're saying that trans people sometimes have to lie about their identification, but cis people don't? So as long as you're cis, right? As long as you're cis, you're always telling the truth, right? You're splitting hairs.
What if somebody was on a desert island, okay, and they had no, like, social interaction?
Are you kidding me?
And then somebody came to them and said, oh, men have these genitals, women have these genitals, and they're unaware entirely of any of the social details around that, right?
Imagine we lived in an entirely different world.
That statement as if you had simply been pointing out what genitals they have, because these statements would be equivalent to them. But in society, they might find out, oh, actually, I like Barbies instead of action figures. Oh, actually, da-da-da-da-da-da.
This is convoluted.
And they aren't that. No, Netanyahu's not dead. That was a rumor. That's been debunked. You gotta look up this stuff.
Imagine that you lied to a child about and switched the genders around, right? Then when they self-identify, then they'll be wrong. I just don't buy this argument, man. Self-ID is the only way we can tell whether or not somebody is a man or a woman or other. That's it. What other system would you prefer? If not self-ID, then what? Just like guess? I mean, that's what we do anyway. We have to guess until somebody tells us, and we're right most of the time due to certain features of men and women that are present, right? But sometimes we're wrong, and when we're wrong, we correct. And we only know that we're wrong because that person tells us. Like, I just can't get over this. The more that I think about it, the more I'm like, no, he's wrong on this point. Self-ID is like the only way. It's the only way that we can tell. If somebody is closeted their entire life because they're scared to death that somebody might find out they're trans and then bully them for it, 1, that sucks really bad. 2, nobody can ever possibly know that they're trans. Nobody, okay? So to everybody else, for all time, that person was the gender that they said that they were. Even if they die with that knowledge, or if they die with that knowledge and never tell anybody. Self-ID is literally the only way.
First, that didn't happen. There's a whole bunch of like,
same thing with Demon Mama
sites that are talking about this right now.
I haven't seen Demon Mama in a minute.
Fine. Because there is no God.
It's that she identifies as a woman. Same with non-binary people. Okay? It is actually the most useful
What?
and consistent definition.
No, it's not. That's not consistent. I've just introduced multiple exceptions. That is not consistent.
Technique.
Okay, so then how do we know whether or not a closeted person is actually the gender that they say they are, President Sunday? Please, do go on. How do we figure that out? Oh, you have to ask them, are you closeted? Are you actually closeted? And then they have to self-identify?
That we have, if you think about it. You know, it just makes sense.
Maybe when Gunter says identify, he's talking about an internal thing. Yeah, but that includes internal things. You think I didn't identify as straight as a kid? I didn't know any better. I didn't know what that meant.
So at some point in the video, he says cis-identifying non-conforming males versus trans-identifying males. What he's referring to here is cis men and trans women.
This is ChatGPT.
He's categorizing people by their sexual anatomy, which does
Nothing,
not come up
I
in
can't
any
win.
societal sense other than medical and sexual.
It comes up in
Anything I say that he agrees with is ChatGPT. Anything I say that he doesn't agree with is also ChatGPT, but wrong.
that is very wrong, actually. What?
See?
It comes up in bathrooms. It comes up in toy aisle. What are you talking about?
Does not come up in any societal sense other than medical and sexual.
It comes up in that is very wrong, actually.
How?
What? It comes up in bathrooms. It comes up in toy.
Okay, how do genitalia come up in the case of bathrooms? Do we do genital inspections? No? We just assume that people have the genital, like, we just assume that, you know, people are in the right bathroom and go along with our day as long as those people aren't doing anything wrong? Oh, okay. So genitals aren't involved in that, right? Like, obviously they're involved in the fact that we have to use them to excrete things, right? But other than that, we don't sit around as a society and check people's genitals before they go into the bathroom. That was my point. So I'm sorry if that wasn't clear, but I feel like, you know, as a well-read academic yourself, you should understand what I'm talking about. And be a little charitable. That's the other thing, is like, one thing I can't stand about people is when they're not charitable to me. You know, like, I feel like I'm endlessly charitable to other people. Like, I was literally just saying, I think that, and I'm not trying to glaze him or anything, I am trying to be charitable to President Sunday, but he's not giving that to me at all. Like, he says I'm using ChatGPT. He can't even be like, well, I bet that he's using ChatGPT, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he didn't, because I actually have no idea. And also, I'm not sure if there's evidence, like video evidence of him writing out the script with chat present on his live. So maybe I shouldn't say that.
What are you talking about?
And like the dating market. And that's it. In day-to-day life, in most contexts, and in the overwhelming majority of senses.
It is literally, it literally comes up in our philosophy and our metaphysics.
I thought I was going to say ChatGPT.
Literature and our philosophies of language, patriarchal relations that presume the essentiality of essentially relations of master and slave.
Oh my God, he's such a nerd.
On the basis of
He's such a nerd. I am talking about in day-to-day life. Okay, these are not things that people are thinking about in day-to-day life. It literally only comes up in dating. Like, that's it. It comes up in dating in the doctor's office. That's when your genitalia is relevant. Your genitalia is not relevant when you use the bathroom. What set of genitals you have is not relevant when you walk into either the men's or women's restroom. And if you think that it is, that makes you a transphobe. Did you know that? That's where a lot of transphobia comes from, is that you think it's relevant to which bathroom people use. It's not.
Come up everywhere. They are ubiquitous. He asked ChatGPT to rewrite it in his voice. Yeah, but unfortunately,
I don't know who he's hanging out with that he's always talking about people's genitals, but I don't personally do that.
His voice is Alec Gunter, and Alec Gunter is already copying the voice of Vosh, so, you know, he's kind of hooped there.
Copying the... What does he mean, copying the voice of Vosh? I don't think I sound anything like Vosh. Do I? I mean, if I do, it's completely circumstantial. I just don't think that I do. Nobody's ever said that before.
That is very wrong.
Trans women fit into the same categories as cis women.
Except for the trans and cis one. Like, that's a meaningful
No, in most circumstances, trans women and cis women fit into the same categories.
Even Anna Karensparian had to admit her traumatizing experience was in a doctor's office.
Thank you very much for another 5 tier 1 gifted subs. Yeah, exactly. He's not being charitable at all. It is literally, that's why they're both women. Like black women versus white women, tall women versus short women. What do they have in common? They're both women. They're all women, right? That means that in certain contexts, They can be categorized together. There are instances where we separate black women from white women, like when we're talking about the birth what is it, the maternal mortality rate, right? That statistic is very important to separate black from white women because black women have a mortality rate of 3 times higher than white women. Okay, so I feel like that's statistically significant. We should definitely recognize the distinction there and try to work on it. And hopefully one day we'll have a circumstance where we don't have to separate them like that anymore because black women will get the care that they need when they need it. But until such point, recognizing that distinction, that disparity is important. Okay, so there are circumstances like trans women and cis women. Okay, there are circumstances where it is important to distinguish those two. Sometimes due to their genitalia. Okay, trans women don't have periods. That's just a fact of being a trans woman. Okay, for as far as I know, I don't know any trans women that have actually had a period. I know that people say that there are like trans periods. There's like certain like things that the hormones do, but you don't menstruate, right? If you're a trans woman. So yes, there are distinctions, but societally speaking, like I said, like you're not worried about that when you're going about your day-to-day life. Like if you know a trans person, all you know is that that person is, if they're a trans woman, all you know is that they're a woman, and you don't need to know about their periods. That's what I'm trying to get at. Vosh sounds different. He sounds like deep and in love with himself. I do. Yeah, Vosh has a slightly deeper voice, which, you know, I could be deeper if I wanted to. Now I sound a little bit like Vosh because he tries to get down here.
Categorical distinction. They are different, obviously.
But I like history. It a little bit more mid-range.
Cis and trans, they refer to movements. They're different.
He's so uncharitable.
That's like saying that native and immigrant are synonyms.
I never said they're not different.
Thing. Most people who use the word woman don't even know what they mean when they say the word.
Also, dating market, not in dating. Dating market. The dating market is an abstraction about availability of potential dating partners.
Woman. They're referring to a vibe that someone gives off through which they assume the person's preferred gender identity. And if they're wrong, they will be corrected and all will be fine. Unless you're like King Critical and want to ask about their sexual anatomy. Then you might have a problem.
Reason 3.
That was terrible.
Thanks, man.
That was terrible.
What's striking critique?
How long is Lucy's here? We'll watch Lucy's and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, that was... God, I don't know. I don't know what the disconnect is. He seems to agree with me on most things. So I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what his beef with me is, but there seems to be some kind of issue. So whatever. I don't know. I did ask, like I showed you guys, I did ask to talk to him at some point. So I'll DM him and maybe we'll just have a conversation about it. And, you know, we'll just see what the deal is because I think that we could get along personally. It's just a matter of, I'm sorry, man. You kind of sound like a nerd and like you're self-conscious about something. I don't know. Hi, thanks so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you all know that I love and appreciate everybody in my community, whether you can support me financially or just by liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. It helps way more than you know. That being said, I do want to give a very special thanks to my tier 4 subs, which would be Space Timid and Hot Take Andy. And thanks so much to my monetary subscribers from any of the tiered subs or anybody who gives me money in any form, including going to my Patreon shop, donating money to me directly. It all helps way more than you know. If you do decide to help me financially, you can get some really cool perks like early access to content, exclusive access to censored videos, also some really cool badges next to your name. Even if you can't afford a monetary subscription, just watching, sharing, and commenting on my content helps way more than you know. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next video.